What's up, guys, and welcome back to BGC 2015. It's going to be the next game. This is winner's bracket game this time, so no elimination on the line. Going to be Pain Gaming going up against Key Stars in a best of one. Some say Pain probably the favorites to win the entire thing. We'll see after this one. I'm mikelorus, going to be joined by More Rage Please. Of course, they decided to start the game as soon as I had my food, man. It had to be like that.
It's just cruel. It's a cruel world, but. Loser goes on to face Not Today, so despite it not being an elimination matchup, certainly is a tough task, more so for K-Stars than it is, of course, for Pain, as you mentioned. Widely considered to be the strongest team here, and for good reason. So they dealt pretty well in the first round with Not Today, fairly easily in that best of one, and should have a good time here. We'll see what K-Stars pull out, if anything, out of the ordinary to face up against them.
Radiant team
And we'll
pick.
see the Templar Assassin be banned out, pretty much. The solid, consistent heroes going to be taking the hit out this game. Of course, leaving heroes like Winter Wyvern, like the Doom, who haven't really seen at all in this tournament, I believe. At least none that were really amazing. So still hoping for that one, since it's been about 2 days since I've last seen my Doombringer. I'd like to see him again. But Winter Wyvern first pick, probably the safest thing that Key Stars can do. If they're going to go a little bit slightly more off the rails, you go for an IO. If they go slightly off the rails still, you pick random. I don't know, but it should be some of those types of heroes.
Yeah, certainly so. Ducks here banned out finally in the first phase. Definitely considered to be a strong hero. It's pretty much been picked up in every game we've played thus far, so not going to have that stable off laner on either side here. But the gyrocopter going to be picked up first pick overall, shades of 6.84 here by K-Stars, not willing to give that over to Pain's side. Wyvern has been kind of the pickup of the day thus far, but the Broodmother hasn't been able to leak through yet, and Pain are going to be more than content to grab that up.
Yeah, Broodmother is going to be the pick here for Pain, which Tavo has been playing to a pretty high degree of success. Grabbing the gyrocopter first already positions Key Stars to have a decent counter to this Broodmother. Not going to be just an automatic, I'm going to kill you every single time counter, but it's definitely a good start. You have significant clearing, so that the Broodmother has to be very careful about where she puts her Spiderlings, and more often than not, the lane matchup is going to be Broodmother versus gyrocopter +1, maybe +2. And Broodmother, maybe does have the asset of being able to use those Spiderlings to split Rocket Barrage damage, go for a kill on the gyrocopter, but just with this initial opening here for Pain, not without its counters, and we'll see if Key Stars want to go super deep into countering the Pain Gaming side. I've been picking up this Broodmother pretty religiously. In some teams, snap pick an axe right now, and that is a hero that can be punished.
It's hard to say where they would put this gyro. I mean, he is very, very potent early on, so certainly could put an aggressive tri-lane around him, but there's still a little bit of flexibility for Pain in terms of where they want to lane the Broodmother. But yeah, as you mentioned, picking him up this early on is going to leave him fairly vulnerable to a wide array of counters that the Radiant side can pick up. But regardless, he's always going to be a bit of a menace across the map, eventually going to take over your jungle. Probably a couple of structures as well. So we'll see if Pain are able to get some momentum under those 8 feet of that Broodmother, but gonna be certainly a nuisance across the map. We'll see if they address it early on here. Maybe just go for a support, something a little bit more defensively oriented around this gyrocopter. They're actually gonna pick up the IO early on, so maybe a little bit of extra attack speed with the overcharge there helps with the flak cannon to bring down some of those Spiderlings. Could be an IO gyrocopter, but still lots available to them in the pool to pair it up with.
This is a second pick IO after gyrocopter. It is possible that this is the combo, but it's also possible that they're looking for a Tiny, they're looking for a CK, one of those IO partners to pick up. As far as countering the Broodmother, IO doesn't really do a great job at that in lane, because IO is just a terrible laner. He just doesn't do anything. But down the line, when Broodmother is looking to split push, when the game is going to dissolve into Pain with 4 heroes pushing down a lane, and Broodmother doing her own thing, IO +1 and the ability to relocate and take your fight at the same time defend your towers is huge. Of course, it does depend on your early stage. You have to get to that stage if that's actually going to be an asset. But the upside of having an IO relocate up against a split pusher, almost purely dedicated split pusher like Broodmother, is certainly there.
Yeah, definitely so. Progressing through the draft, we'll see a pickup or a ban from the Night Stalker. Interestingly enough. Decent offlaner with the buff to his base HP regen. nowadays, but pretty single target heavy against the Broodmother as well. It does have the movement
10
speed to
seconds
outdistance her
remaining.
in general, but interesting ban to say the least coming out from Pain.
5 seconds
Um,
remaining.
recognizing a lot of these names from Key D, I think it was THD that most of these players were on. Yuka, Liposa, Jubilee U, and Vestius,
Radiant
all
team pick.
familiar to me. So definitely these players have played together before, and I think they beat Mineski a day or two ago, which is a pretty good team in terms of kind of the tier 2 SEA region. So they can definitely put up a fight here, and they banned out the Ember alongside the Naga Siren, both of which deal very well with the relocate, or at least with Wisp +1 in the case of the Ember Spirit. So Tusk pickup comes out for Pain Gaming, a little bit more early aggression for them.
5
And
seconds remaining.
looks like at this point he's probably going to be in a support role.
Yeah, I think that's usually a pretty good starting
Reserve time.
spot for the Tusk. Like, Tusk and Broodmother, given the choice, I'd rather have a Broodmother in the offlane. Pretty much no questions asked there. Pain don't really have any broken combos, and with the Dazzle banned out, it seems like those combos may be a little bit difficult to come by, but that's definitely not too late. If you look at the bans out from Pain, these are very single target focused bans. So they're really just trying to protect their Broodmother, I feel, with this. Gyrocopter, of course, has the AoE with a couple of
10
IO
seconds
Spirits mixed in to
remaining.
effectively clear out those Spiderlings. Going for someone like a Spirit Breaker for Keystars is a pretty good option
Dire
just
team
to
pick.
try to deal with that Brood, but it's instead going to be a Bane. They're not going to pick up their IO partner just yet, and I like this move. Just force Pain to maybe use a couple more bans out, and if they ban out the hero that you really wanted, just put the IO as like a Gyrocopter supporter. It's perfectly fine there. Bane as a support hero, great versus Broodmother. Aside from that, it's not really that great, especially up against
Yeah.
the Tusk.
It's a good aggressive support early
10
on, but
seconds remaining.
and it does combo decently with the Gyrocopter. Has excellent base move speed,
5
315. So on top of the tether bonus, can really help to get in range. But there is a defensive snowball. There's also a cold embrace. So it's not necessarily that when you set up a hero with this nightmare that he will go down shortly thereafter, just because of the rocket barrage's presence. And IO plus Bane is not the scariest combo, although Bane can be pretty scary in his own right. Generally speaking, you need another aggressively natured support alongside him. So it's an interesting pickup, and certainly could do well. But yeah, I mean, zoning potential isn't bad with the right click and the base movement speed that he
10
has. But I don't know that necessarily IO Bane common pickup, and they will counter up this Broodmother pretty straightforwardly so with this axe pickup.
Alright, so that's the pretty much as direct of a counter as you're going to find. The matchup is usually pretty tilted towards the Axe, and outside of just being good versus the Broodmother, Tusk and Anti-Mage both melee, so Axe up against, the more melee heroes there are, the better it's going to be for the Axe, just
5
having
seconds
ease of
remaining.
Blink Call. Still, you do have to worry about the Tusk Snowball. The defensive power up against a Grip, up against an Axe, is definitely there, and Axe has to be careful about that, but blink in call, land a call on Tusk plus a couple Spiderlings, like that just can be a very easy kill here from Keystars. It seems like the IO is just going to be an IO for IO's sake and not going to be doing any sort of weird things in the mid lane, and that's probably going to prompt Pain Gaming's bans out right now. Still got just like generically powerful heroes like Shadow Fiend if Keystars want to go for that one. Templar Assassin really the only big mid laner that's been banned out.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was actually just looking up this mechanic, but Counter Helix does not proc because of Winter's Curse, but I thought that could have been perhaps an interesting mechanic, tilting it a little bit in the Radiant's favor. But yeah, I'm pretty straightforward counter, as you mentioned. Lacking a mid laner at this point, perhaps they look for that dual lane with the Gyro IO mid. But still, for the other side, it seems that they're also lacking a mid laner. They could always put this Broodmother mid, but I mean, you expect the Radiant to shadow the Brood with the Axe wherever she ends up going. So I don't mind the draft coming out, although it doesn't necessarily have one direct unified purpose. I don't mind the draft thus far from KD.
Yeah, their late game is not really comparable to that of an Anti-Mage, who can just get on top of a Gyrocopter, tear him to shreds, no problem whatsoever. The Bane has to be on point, as does the IO and Axe. Like, there's a lot of defensive power here for the Keystars side, but as far as
5
direct
seconds
confrontations are concerned late game, Pain Gaming have it in spades. Queen of Pain, Wind Ranger,
Dire
going to be
team
banned out, so the pool of really great mid heroes is going to slim down just a little bit, and for Pain, well, I mean, it looks like they're going to go for their mid lane selection last as well. Unfortunately for them, they got to pick first, so whatever they pick has the chance of being countered, but Shadow Fiend versus pretty much anything that Keystars can throw at him, should be a decent matchup. We've been seeing a lot of alchemists. Is there any room for that in either of these drafts? Doesn't really seem
10
like.
seconds.
Maybe
I think
Keystars.
yeah, I think slightly more likely for the
5
Radiant.
seconds remaining.
Just that he deals decently with the Brood as well, and his D push can certainly be
Reserve time.
pretty effective up against the Spiderlings. So, yeah, it wouldn't be terrible. The Axe Aghanim Scepter was something that used to be picked up a lot before the nerfs, and Global Call Down could be nice. doubt that we see that.
Value.
Wind Ranger ban comes out from the dire side, which is a little bit curious, as I would think that whenever you have an IO, Wind Ranger against the IO is very useful. But they're going to pick up a hero who does much the same, or fills much the same role with the RP in the Magnus.
As much as I like Magnus and Anti-Mage, this is the 4th melee hero here for Pain, up against an Axe and a Gyrocopter. 2 heroes, again, who punish melee heroes really hard.
10
Yeah.
seconds.
Magnus in lane kind of behaves like a pseudo-ranged hero using his shockwave, so I mean, that's not really
5 seconds
the worst case
remaining.
scenario for him, but, you know, come the mid-game, it's going to be really difficult for Pain Gaming to actually get in with all of their heroes. In a massive team fight, they have to decisively take it super quickly, else the AoE damage of Axe, Gyrocopter, and now even a Razor are going to start to come into play, which is the last pick here for the Keystar side. Again, this is the advantage of being able to pick last. They know that most likely it's going to be a Magnus mid, so
Yeah.
just pick up a Razor, drain all his damage, and then force him to be only a Shockwave machine. And Magnus does okay with that, but you know, not being able to contest the Razor at all, that's a tough lane for the Mag.
Yeah, 4DR picking that up is generally going to indicate that they are going to go towards the mid lane with that Magnus. But yeah, it's I feel like there could have been better heroes to fill that role, and the melee matchup is definitely worrisome. Razor not the best Winter's Curse target either. They're not extremely single target heavy over on the dire side, but the Unstable Concurrent is going to do some work, no doubt, in this one. So it's definitely going to be the IO alongside the Gyrocopter. Really, no one else synergizes with him extremely well, but early on with the Bane could definitely at least look to close the gap on this offlaner if they're diligent about keeping vision, and maybe look to be able to bring him down.
I'm really not sure if I like this Pain draft. It's a little bit too melee heavy for my taste. They're going to have to take some rather bursty kills. They could do some pretty ridiculous things, like Snowball into Shards into Skewer back. It's like into Tower or something like that. Like, they have some real stupid things that they could do with this Tusk Magnus combo.
Right.
But outside of that, they're just going to get poked at 24/7. I mean, yeah, but just with Razor, and even though Io is not necessarily the strongest laner as far as poking is concerned, Bane does it pretty damn well, and just being able to set up for a Nightmare, set up for a Rocket Barrage down the line, and Pain will have to just, you know, try to break away from that every single time, and it's not always going to be an option for them. So I'm actually really liking where Keystar has ended up with this draft. I think it's Pain's 4 melee heroes, but they are 4 melee heroes. They can get rather tanky, rather difficult to deal with. Anti-Mage super mobile, and the Tusk and Magnus not slouches in that regard either. So keeping elusive, keeping alive for Pain, it's definitely possible, but difficult. Let's see who's going to be playing what for Keystars. We got Lullaby on the Bane. How freaking fitting. I love it. Vestius is on the Io. Yuka is on the Razor. We got Lepost on the Gyrocopter. Now down towards bottom, it's Jubilu's Axe.
Yeah, so these are the former players of the house is down and definitely comfortable with one another. Over on the other side, Live for Your Love going to be picking up that Anti-Mage. They're going to have 4DR towards the mid lane on the Magnus. Cat going to be picking up that Winter Wyvern. That's going to leave Gambling on the Tusk, and finally
30
Tavo
seconds.
over in the off lane on Mother.
It's going to be a Broodmother versus that Axe matchup, and it seems like both sides don't see each other right now. If they did, they would know, or at least Keystars would know, that these are the correct lanes for them. Like you said before, they want the Axe to be wherever the Broodmother is going to be, and since both sides are blind right now, they are just going to wander into the correct lane. It's 9 times out of 10 going to be won by the Axe, and it doesn't really get substantially better for the Broodmother unless some people come and help. They are going to get a good idea of the lanes now that they see them, and, well, ADR wants this boundary rune. However, Yuka is ready to go with Static Link. There is also Rocket Barrage, and you don't mess with Rocket Barrage level 1. You don't mess with the Razor level 1 either, as weak as Io may be. Io's going to grab the rune, going to grab the bottle, and it's actually going to be double bounty rune for Keystars, so, you know, GG. Already they win, but, you know, seriously, though.
60% win rate.
rate.
Something like 60% on taking both bounty runes. So, yeah, things looking good early on. And I mean, generally you wouldn't see the IO do extremely successfully in an aggressive tri-lane situation, but Tusk doesn't offer too much before he can find a few levels, and a level 1 Winter Wyvern is much the same. Just having an Arctic Burn, or maybe more rarely so, a Splinter Blast is really not going to be able to back up this Radiant offlane.
And if you look at the other options for this IO, like Axe clearly does not need help up against Tavo. Jubilu is only level 1 right now, but is going to be very comfortable in this lane, is threatening the call on Tavo 24/7. They're going to try to make an aggressive play up towards top. No, they're not. It's an Enfeeble, actually. Still putting a lot of free damage into this Wyvern. Not much HP, only 1 armor, just a couple right clicks, and he's really banged up. But this is going to be a poking lane for the Anti-Mage, and he may have Embrace down the line, he may have Blink to keep himself safe, so he's not necessarily going to die here. He's just going to have a really rough time. He's going to try to go for the post with help of the Arctic Burn. In fact, the post is going to take a lot of damage from that, but the IO having the bottle so early on is going to make this a tough lane. Meantime, Broodmother also dropping super low to Jubilu, got caught with the call and got put into a blender.
Yeah, Tavo does have that innate regen from the webs, but only 2 tangos left, so, I mean, as is expected, Axe is going to do extremely well in this lane, and Yuka in the mid lane has already been able to pretty effectively zone out this Magnus 40, or only with 2 last hits thus far, so it looks like all 3 lanes going fairly, at least acceptably, for the Radiant side.
And Anti-Mage, he has 29 damage to last hit with. Feels bad, man. The Anti-Mage is not going to get that much farm, even though, like, in theory, he has a lot of space to do so. I mean, like, not a lot of space, but an okay amount of space to get that. They're going to need to call into Tavo once again. Jubilu, it's only level 1 call, so it's not going to last forever, but Tavo has to be super careful in this bottom lane, as Jubilu is freely getting last hits, and every single time he uses that call, he's probably going to clean up the creep wave in the process. So the tower, though usually Broodmother's going to be pushing it, not the case this time. Jubilu's going to be the one putting pressure towards the Brood's tower. But up towards top, they need level 2 on this Bane if they're actually going to go for a really aggressive play.
Yeah, and even then, I don't know that they have the kill potential. They definitely have the potential to posture themselves up aggressively in lane and look to deny some farm from this Anti-Mage, but not sure if they can quite kill him off with both the defensive snowball and the cold embrace behind him.
Keystars are leading very happily right now in the CS department. IO Bane have next to nothing, but that's fine. That's where those heroes are supposed to be at this stage. It's just all green on the top for the Keystars side, and Pain, it doesn't really seem like it's going to get substantially better. Like, in this mid lane, Magnus, as he gets more points in Shockwave, can kind of return fire to Yuka, but not really threaten him. And same thing for Tavo, like, as he does get levels, maybe some spawn Spiderlings, he can return fire in this Axe, but not nearly of the caliber that Axe can put towards that Broodmother. So it seems like all these lanes are pretty much going to stay as they are. There are no real huge breaking points for Pain where they suddenly, you know, get turned on and are able to kill off some of these Keystars heroes.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, I feel like at this point it kind of comes back to the Magnus pick. I feel like you at least need to win that lane. And banning out the Wind Ranger, I mean, sure, it would have worked decently with the Radiant lineup, but it was an interesting call. Either way, we'll see if he can recover. Of course, having that Empower is always going to kind of up his stock in terms of having a Magnus on your side. So they're going to put a lot of eggs into that Anti-Mage basket hereafter and hope that pans out for them. Pain certainly a team and group of players that know how to play from behind effectively. So we'll see if they're able to put that to use.
Well, the Bane has hit his level 2 mark right now. Unfortunately, does not have a Brain Sap, and being in an offensive tri-lane, both the Bane and Io are going to be hurting for experience. So that is something that is kind of going for Pain. They have access to pulls, they have ways, alternative ways of getting their supports, just a couple of extra levels here and there. Whereas for the supports on Keystars, they're pretty much just relegated to splitting lane experience with the Gyrocopter, which is also going to be cutting into his level 6 as well. But I don't really know if they're quite abusing that as much as they really need to right now. The CS is not as tight with Yuka and ADR as I thought it would be. Magnus now 13-3 versus the 64 of Razor.
Cat, top lane. He's going to be slept up. They're going to get the tether slow onto him, but he should be able to make it to the low ground. Taking a lot of spirits, though. And gets actually very low, but will be able to make it away 90 HP.
Last 2 spirits wouldn't have done it, although it would have been really, really close. They're going to go for the Anti-Mage now, just push them back and forth, and Anti-Mage now going to take a full-on Rock Barrage, just use his Blink. They're going to dive this tower, no hesitation whatsoever. Do they have enough damage here? 3 seconds, that's all the Anti-Mage has to live for. Another spirit comes through, right clicks from Vestius from downtown. Going to grab the kill on the Anti-Mage, and now just going to juice up Leposa for the exit trip. He should be just fine. That was extremely narrow, but doesn't matter how narrow it is, doesn't matter, got kill.
such really decisive play from the Radiant side. They have this vision here on the high ground, and they see the Tusk rotating out from mid lane. They force the Wyvern down the cliff here with that last rotation. So they know that Live for Your Love is completely left to his own devices in this top lane, and they immediately jump forward towards him.
Rough time to be an anti-mage up towards top. He's still not doing terribly in the last hit department. In fact, keeping pace with Leposa's gyrocopter. That is hard to do as an anti-mage up against an offensive tri-lane. Jubilu, well, he's leading the Broodmother, but not really by that much. It seems like Keystar is kind of dropping the ball a little bit in their last hitting, although in theory the lane matchups are really good for them. It just doesn't seem like it's actually panning out that way. Pain, now they're going to smoke up with the Magnus and the Tusk, go up towards top. At the same time, Jubilu in a little bit of trouble because Tavo's popped his ultimate, has 2 points in incapacitating bites. We're going to slow down that Axe, put a lot of damage into him, skewer forward up on top. In the meantime, RP onto Vestius and Lullaby both, and both these heroes are doomed to fall. Lullaby's going to Nightmare Brain Sap. That may get him his buy out, however, and it looks like it will. Leposa can't really do enough here. And it will be just a kill on the IO for an RP. Cat kind of slow, being chased down by the gyrocopter. Looks like that should just about be it. In the meantime, the Axe is able to TP out from the Broodmother. But rotation from the Magnus, uses RP. Got a kill on the IO. That's good enough for him.
I'm wondering how the Axe 6 minutes in has 19 CS right now. I feel like he should have a lot more. He's going to rotate up to this top lane and doesn't have a point in Battle Hunger. So they may be able to set him up with a sleep into the call as the Bane returns to lane. But yeah, a little interesting to see it. And Tavo forcing him out of lane there, bottom lane as well. He's going to give the Broodmother space, and this Broodmother is going to become the menace that we so often see fairly soon. Does not have any points in the spawn Spiderlings yet, though.
Yeah, it's gone for just a... I mean, the webs are standard, but now he's going to just charge forward for Vestius. Gyrocopter is coming in, and Tavo, he has quite a bit of life still. He might just think he could man fight this Gyrocopter, but in tower range, he has to book it. He's going to leave his web. No, he's just going to chill there. They don't know that he's still there because the spirits aren't hitting, and he's somehow still dodging them, and now he's just free and clear. That was some pretty baller play from Tavo. I don't know how intentional that was. I don't know how accidental it was that Vestius just happened to miss all those spirits. But Tavo's now just going to stick around and be happy with that. It's a full lane rotation. Axe versus Anti-Mage, it's still not great for the Anti-Mage, but it's probably a little bit better than the previous offensive tri-lane.
He'll be able to farm much better, certainly. So, yeah, it was, you got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good, I suppose, for Tavo there bot lane. And he's been really good about keeping sentries down, so he knows that they aren't aware of his positioning for that, at least for that moment. But we'll be spotted out into the tower trying to find some last hits, and Leposa going to continue to keep pressure up on this tower. Yuka found a little bit of free space in that mid lane, but still only 25 CS on this Razor despite rotating.
Taking a nap. Rocket Barrage active. He's going to try to book it. Too late. He's already down. Rocket Barrage at melee range. As fast as you may be as a Broodmother, you cannot escape that. Nightmare into instant death. That's bad times. Now the tower may even fall. Pain are not going to look to defend this. Instead, they want to trade for an Axe. And it seems like Axe in a pretty bad position right now. Snowball is coming in. Arctic Burn already active. He's walled off. He's going to turn around and dunk the Tusk now. And Anti-Mage is going to come in, but Axe still going strong. And Cat will fail the secondary dunk, but gets the kill in the end. Now here comes Vestius. Hit with the RP, but Jubilu's going to survive because of the little amount of tether HP he got. It seems like ADR forced to bail on out. That's a 2-kill, and Jubilu survives. Yeah, Axe is the manly man of Dota. You don't mess with him. ADR is going to TP out of there. Almost enough burst damage to kill him off the plasma field, just a little bit too far away. But 4-1, and it does force a couple of rotations, a couple of TPs, but very much so worth it to save their Axe and get a couple kills to boot.
Yeah, I have the Storm Pod mid as well. They're going to put some chip damage towards this tower as they clear up the wave. So, all together, things looking pretty good for Keystars thus far, although, as you mentioned, they are probably a little bit lower in terms of the farm department than they would like to be at this point. Albeit, their most needed farmer, the Gyrocopter, is sitting comfortably atop the CS chart. Top lane, Live for Your Love, going to show his face. And Gyro, knowing that he's alone, is going to have to back off it. Jubilee U, bot lane postured up. He's going to be scouted out here by Gambling as he drops down a deep observer ward for the dire side. And we'll see if they're able to mount a defense here bot lane. The Spiderling army starting to mount up for Tavo. And no glyph available now for the Radiant side. So they'll rotate in, and this rotation will be spotted. See if the Spiderling is able to evacuate himself. Last hit on the tower, not going to be denied, and Jubilee U was well within range. He's going to try and pick up these Spiderlings. Will be able to do so for the most part. But either way, Broodmother does find the last hit.
Oh, and Gambling gonna run into Vestius right now. Takes a couple spirits right now. They're gonna slow down Jubilee a little bit with the in-cap bite. Now Jackie has to turn tail and go the other direction. Into Yuka, however, into a call down. This is a dead Tusk. At 5 heroes here, however, for key stars. For a Tusk kill, that's nice, but it's a little bit expensive for their taste. They do lose the tower in the end. Can they pick up Tavo? They really lack any sort of long-range initiation. That should be Jubilu's job. And you would expect him to go one-on-one versus a Broodmother. Should have like an 11-minute Blink Dagger at the longest, but his Blink Dagger is still quite a little bit away, and I don't know if he can get it quite in time, especially if he ends up going a little bit too far here. He's gonna put himself into the trees. Blind call. I like the attempt there from Jubilu, but not going to pan out. It seems like it was just an even tower trade in the end, so key stars, they don't really lose a ton. They gain just about as much as they lose, but still, it's going to be Pain to slowly but surely pull back into the CS lead. Anti-Mage and Magnus, surprisingly enough, in 2nd and 3rd place.
Yeah, Anti-Mage has recovered very admirably, and Jubilee is going to spot him out in the jungle, force him back perhaps. But the Wyvern coming in, no level 5, not even level 5 yet, so never mind a Winter's Curse going to be available. But he will back off Jubilee with the Arctic Burn now. Yeah, it's definitely a concern, this Anti-Mage, considering they ran an aggressive tri-lane into him, and they didn't get as much as they wanted out of this Axe 1v1 Broodmother lane. So Pain has been able to recover fairly nicely from what looked like a pretty poor laning stage early on. Even the Magnus sitting at 3rd overall in the CS and has a Blink in his stash.
Yeah, this Magnus should not have this much up against the Razor. And if he does have this much, you would expect Yuka to have more. But right now, the Magnus, I mean, yeah, he got a couple of rotations off. He got 1 kill out of it. It's fine. Razor got 1 kill and 1 assist. But Magnus still has an item that is a lot more helpful. You know, it's actually a real tangible item, as opposed to the Razor, who has Power Treads and Ring of Aquila, which are nice items for sure, but Magnus's Blink Skewer is going to be absolutely terrifying at this stage. Yeah, Blink RP is there as well, but for the most part, he just wants to get those single target pickoffs, and if he's able to keep this hidden, then that is very possible. The Blink is being mirrored on the Axe side. He's going to try to go for the Anti-Mage, but it's spotted by the Observer Ward, so a little bit awkward there.
So that is the reveal of the Blink for this Axe to the Dire side, so they are privy to that. And that should help them out. Tusk finding a little bit of space towards that mid lane. And pick up that coveted Walrus Punch fairly soon here, sitting on level 5. In terms of the levels of the supports, a little bit of an edge to the Radiant side. Both level 6 to the level 5 of their laning counterparts. Mid lane RP going to be found on Liposa. He's going to be sharded in. He'll drop the call down, but just a glancing blow as he goes down here. And no follow-up available from his teammates. Meanwhile, Tavo jumping forward, trying to find Lullaby here. Will pop the Stroller Ring. He's actually going to get gripped up immediately, but there's an engagement going on mid lane. 4DR has been caught out on the Magnus. He's going to be sharded up by his own teammate. And Gambling going to have to now back off. Not enough firepower to bring down Vestius without the Walrus Punch available to him. Negative Earn Tick is there. One more Spirit, but the stick will keep him alive for now. And Tavo going to have to back off away from the Bane, but does bait out that Fiend's Grip, which is a 100-second cooldown at this point. Actually, at all points.
Ultimately for key stars, they don't lose anyone. They yank out the Gyrocopter up to the top lane, where Axe was also going to get into a fight there with the Anti-Mage. Ends up getting the kill, no problem whatsoever, but Gyrocopter gets the experience for it and then gets yanked back towards mid lane afterwards, where he still does not die. Yeah, getting the grip on the Broodmother is nice and everything, but Broodmother has her army, and Tavo, as a player, especially as a Broodmother player, has been very good about keeping his Spiderlings fanned out for full vision. Like, look at these little bastards. They're giving him so much vision in the jungle right now. And of course, they know, Keystars, that if they go into webs, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble. But wherever they go, they're going to be spotted by this Brood. And if it's someone like Bane, who's just purely single target, he can just get annihilated by spiders with no questions asked. Pain are 6 kills behind right now, and though they do have the power of the Magnus, they do have the power of the Anti-Mage, right now it is the Radiant to be in control for however long they can. I feel like they have to somehow try to get this mech up on the Razor and then try to go for these towers.
Yeah, I think the 5 men certainly should be imminent, at least off the back of a pickoff on top of the call into relocate combo. Of course, Axe going for that max call build, as is necessary with this lineup. Couple sentries drop bottom, and they're going to look to find Tavo here, but he's defensively postured up in the trees right now, not really showing himself. Broodling going to show, but yeah, as you mentioned, really diligent about keeping his information plentiful in this bot lane and just continuing to farm up that Radiant jungle.
And if Pain can slow down the stage of this game with that Broodmother, get this Magnus up to empower levels, get the Anti-Mage, his Battle Fury, and then some. He's actually gone for Perseverance and Ring of Regen, so a hell of a lot of bling on this hero. but not a lot of swords, and that's what he really wants to get right now. Even though his net worth is looking pretty good, this anti-mage doesn't really have the item he wants. That's Battle Fury, and I don't think it's going to be anything else in this particular game. You may make the argument of Empower is Battle Fury, so you don't need that, but for the most part, this anti-mage just needs a little bit more farm, and Pain, they just have to find the correct pickoffs to give that to him. They're going to team the Magnus up with the Tusk right now. Walrus Punch is not quite there yet, however. Magnus Blink, RP, Skewer, Shockwave should be enough to almost kill off anyone, and with a little bit of help, they'll be able to bring down anyone, including this Axe, if they can find him. He's kind of well hidden, though. Is he spotted by this ward? No.
He is now, yeah. He was not in that tree line, but feels like he's in a safe enough position to be okay. Jumps forward, trying to find the Broodmother. And they are aware of that on the Dire side, but a little bit too far out to find a kill here. Smoke will expire behind Tavo, and they are going to try and bait him out, it seems, for the next little while. But Radiant not going to bite. They are towards that mid lane. Plasma Field going to be popped from the low ground from Yuka. And they still need to bring down this tier 1 in the mid lane, which they have been chipping at for a while. Cat right now going to try and find himself some experience. And on top of his Soul Ring, he does have that Winter's Curse available.
Oh, but suddenly Axe from nowhere. He doesn't know exactly where the Wyvern is. Blink Call is going to miss. And now Jubilu's going to get slowed down a little bit by a burn. Of course, the first hit burn is met with the first hit spin. Jubilu's still slowed to a crawl. Magnus a little bit too far away to get the Blink RP Skewer in. So they're not going to be able to get that.
Broodmother coming in, though.
Oh, yeah,
Tavo from the high ground actually jumped forward. No. Yeah.
Not quite.
Not going to make it. And mid lane.
Try to go for Jubilu. Hunger is going to do a lot of damage, and here comes a relocate onto Tavo. He's going to go straight for the IO, taking a little bit of damage from the Rocket Barrage. Call down is going to land the first missile. Tavo will try to run, but it's not going to happen. The post at Queen's house. And Vestius is able to survive at that. They thought they left from top lane, and it seems like they weren't wrong, but just not in the right position. IO is going to be able to get back home to safety. Great relocate there. I didn't actually think that they would be able to do that, because my brother was pretty healthy to start things out.
Yeah, and Jubilee just kind of bailed on them as well. So, yeah, it's a little bit fortunate that most of the Spiderlings died off early on, so the Rocket Barrage was pretty effective, the first one at least. And that first call-down missile hitting, absolutely essential for them finding the kill there. So that gives a Yasha over to Liposa in base, which he'll be able to bring out soon on top of his drums and his H-Dome. So doing very well on the Gyrocopter thus far. And Yuka, as you mentioned, really hasn't done a whole lot of anything on this Razor, but if he's able to pick up this mechanism, maybe something like an Aghanims on top of that, they can begin to queue up the 5-man and the push. And with their lineup, the 5-man is certainly very strong, but they can also rely on finding picks as they just did and then taking objectives.
Well, he has 1,900 gold right now. You would think that if he was going for mechanism, he would just be buying it piecemeal because, well, at the very least, Buckler is a pretty nice item to have for, if nothing else, the chainmail that you get in that, or the little bit of armor rather. But he's holding on to quite a bit of gold. It might be possible that he's just going to go straight for an S and Y, but I mean, I don't know. This Razor hasn't dominated the lane to the extent that we would really expect from him. Like, Magnus got a pretty decently timed Blink Dagger, has been getting quite a bit of farm as well. You really need something out of this Razor. Otherwise, he kind of feels like a mediocre hero right now. Using Static Link on Anti-Mage or Broodmother is, of course, the dream, but it's hard to get a full link off on either one of those heroes.
Yeah, and they don't have... I mean, they do have the sleep to keep them in place after that, but they don't have an extreme amount of catch, really. Are heavily relying on this Axe. And Jubilee has been fairly decent with his initiations thus far, but really, because of having to rotate around and kind of shadow the Broodmother, hasn't been able to find any farm aside from that Blink Dagger. It looks like this this Radiant offlane is going to be taken down, but the grip comes in from the side. This Tusk going to come in with a defensive snowball and actually brings forward with the Skewer Shockwave onto 2, RP onto 2 as well. Yuka going to drop quickly. Mana Void is going to be there as well. And that's a double kill for the Anti-Mage. The rotations were there, but they weren't enough from the Radiant side, and underestimating what was behind the Anti-Mage, not enough firepower brought to that top lane.
They had to relocate. It was just like 6 seconds on cooldown. They're now going to try to go up there. It's too late because the Anti-Mage is already dead. Axe was the one to do it, again, without needing that Gyrocopter, but it's a little bit too late for that. Like, just getting the Razor and Bane caught out there. If they had 4 or 5 heroes there, then that could have been decisively a victory for the Radiant side, but instead they end up losing a couple heroes. They're going to get onto JK, or Gambling rather, with the full-on Rocket Barrage. The Urn Tick is going to kill him off. Gyrocopter's bulldozing that Tusk down. Ultimately, kind of salvaging that rough fight up towards top lane. But yeah, it is going to be the tower to fall in the mid lane. Finally. But in the meantime, we have a Broodmother in the game, so she's going to be split pushing as per usual. Look at that Spiderling army. It was hiding behind the tower. I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
Razor's going to Plasma Field, get quite a bit of gold off of it, but still, tower is not looking too great.
Yeah, Tavo doing Tavo things at this point. Anti-Mage, though, did buy out before dying, has that Battle Fury, and almost the full makings of Vlad's on top of that. So, despite that death looking pretty good, it did give pretty much a full Blade Mail over to Jubilee U, though, which is going to be certainly nice upcoming. Just touched upon how he was lacking a bit of farm, but now looking much better, third overall in the net worth.
Have to hold right now, have to split push. The tower is going to be denied on the bottom lane. Somehow it got below deny threshold. I may have been watching that, but who knows. Either way, it's going to be really nice for Keystars to be able to deny that gold away from the Anti-Mage. Yeah, he does have the Battle Fury, yeah, he does have the Empower, but will he have the space to actually use either of them? Keystars are going to smoke up once again. They're going the right direction. Will they catch ADR right now? Their smoke is going to be blown. They see him. Blink, call, gonna catch the Magnus. They have the grip if needed, but it seems like it's not going to be needed. Magnus down, now Gambling also going to fall. Double kill for Jubilee, and somehow Cat is here. You should not be here, Winter Wyvern. He's going to get clipped immediately. Probably unnecessary since just the Rocket Barrage would have done it, but hey, it's 3 kills for the Keystars side, and they're in a great position to take a tier 2 tower. Broodmother has got to put up the pressure on this bottom lane. He's got to try to race, but TP's already coming back. Now, this is super useful here on the Bane versus Broodmother, but still, the tower is going to fall in favor of Keystars.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how comfortable these players are together for the Radiant side, despite Pain being quote-unquote the clear favorite in this one, and they are showing bot lane. They're going to catch the Nightmare, and the TPs are inbound as well from the Razor. The Rocket Barrage is there. Tavo getting really low. He's going to be bursted down and won't even find a kill for his troubles. Onto Vestius's whips. Vestius in a little bit of trouble, perhaps, returning from the relocate. Not sure exactly where he came from, but he will bring the Gyrocopter alongside him. Shards will be there to greet him, but they'll be just fine. And they do bring down the Broodmother and keep their tier 3 fairly healthy. Overall, really good movement from Keystars.
And that's one tier 2 tower down, and they have now a gigantic stack to clear. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 stacks of Ancients the Gyrocopter's built up for himself. He already has his S&Y, so it's not like he's going to be getting any significant item with this stack, but still, more gold is more gold, and Laposa is not going to say no to that. It seems like Pain, they actually do have a really good draft for jacking those Ancients. They're just not in the correct position to do so. The Radiant side, again, have full control of this game. The bottom lane Broodmother is slightly problematic. Tavo's just going to go right back down there and continue being a little spider, but I don't know. Eventually, I feel the power of these pushes from the Radiant side are going to be enough to really question Tavo's split pushing ability. Like, you, at a certain point, need to defend because you can't race the entire team.
Yeah, and with nothing like a Desolator up, and the Broodmother, yeah, he really can't hold a candle to an entire lineup. So Liposa with that big stack. Unfortunately, they failed on the 5th stack, or it would have been even bigger. Going to skyrocket himself up to about 2k gold at this point, and already with the S&Y on top of his drums and H-Tom, feeling very comfortable up at the top of the network chart. Jubilee U stalking top lane is going to now see the Tusk. Well, maybe not, actually, the Radiant Vision. Not catching me. He's going to find the Tusk here, but there's 3 heroes abound for the dire side. Jubilee U in a bit of trouble. Relocate gonna come through now, but is it a little bit too late? Jubilee U getting low. The skewer is gonna come through onto Liposa. The Winter's Curse onto Vestius as well. RP gonna be channeled up. Rocket Barrage doing tons of damage. Call down should bring down 4DR, and it does on the backlines. Meanwhile, no one dies off from the Radiant side as Yuka rotates in to help out Jubilee U. He's gonna blink forward, find the call onto Tusk, and unstoppable streak going Jubilee U's way. 2-0 overall. Looks like Anti-Mage survives, but isn't able to get a kill off of that, and Jubilee U with a very early initiation is going to be covered by that relocate.
Oh, Anti-Mage blinks right into a grip from the Bane, trying to go for Vestius. Now here comes Laposa for the physical right clicks. Anti-Mage, though he did survive, will not ultimately get away. A minute on the sidelines. Cat is also, again, somehow still here. Why is the Winter Wyvern always sticking around for a little bit too long? He's going to get buzzed down by the guns of the Gyrocopter, giving 2 kills instead of just 1 to the Radiant side. It's an absolute bloodbath, and you look at the Broodmother, she's not split pushing actively right now. Even if she was, Jubilee would have been to meet her, but the axe doesn't die. There are 0 casualties, in fact, for the Keystars, and they collect, what, 4 kills across the map, including the Anti-Mage. now they're also, again, in a great position to go for this tier 2 tower. For Pain, that looked kind of great for them, just getting on top of the Axe with like a 3v1, but Axe just tanking out to slide on out of there with a little bit of help from Yuka on the relocate. So devastating from this gyrocopter. This guy is farmed out of his skull. He's going for a butterfly. Once he has that, Pain, their magical burst is not really there. They're pretty much fully into the physical department. They can't hit the gyrocopter. They're not going to have enough farm to get MKBs. We got Anti-Mage teleporting up to the top lane, but man fighting Leposa, not a great idea.
Yeah, Tavo not going to be able to defend too, as Jubilee is shadowing in bot lane. He just picked up about 20 spider lanes, so about 300, 350 gold going the Axe's way as well. So just going to keep back that split push, and perhaps Tavo going to need to find himself a new home across the map. Maybe split push a different lane, as are pretty aware of it for the Radiant side. Overall, I feel like, as you mentioned, Vestius on alongside Leposa on that Wisp has just been perfect with the timings and the positioning of his relocates, and he has that Glimmer Cape available to him now. I mean, it's very, very rare that you see 24 minutes in a Wisp with 1 death, but 18-3 is your score, so...
I'm actually surprised that the IO doesn't have like all 3 of those deaths. That's just like how suicidal IOs kind of have to be in order to play their support role. But hey, has his Glimmer Cape right now and is getting quite a few levels, so he's tanking up naturally, and as long as he sticks with Leposa, he's going to be getting those assists, because Leposa is just raking in the kills. 807 on the gyrocopter. He's going to chalk up another tower destruction to his name as well. Bottom lane tier 2, the last tower standing for Pain, but it seems like Keystars have no interest in that. Leposa just wants to go for the top lane. This probably isn't going to happen, but worst case scenario, you gotta relocate your gyrocopter out. I mean, that's probably gonna be what they want to do anyway, especially if they catch eyes on this Anti-Mage, who's running around with the haste rune, so he's pretty hard to keep up to. But you know, if he runs into a Bane, gets nightmared, gets gripped, relocate, it's clearly enough to kill him off. We've already seen that.
Yeah, I feel like that was the plan from KD. There's they force rotations back, knowing that the Anti-Mage is generally speaking the last one to come back for that base defense, as he's the best at split pushing with his battle theory. So looking to figure that out and maybe catch him and get him on the relocate, but unable to do so. Fortunate to have that haste rune there. Either way, middle tower is still going to be denied by the Radiant, and they look to be firmly in the grip. The game looks to be firmly in their grasp at this point. Still have another stack being prepared once again for Gyrocopter, who's doing very well, all things considered, against a battlefield from the Anti-Mage.
Butterfly is going to be coming up very, very shortly, and then, like, take out his call down, take out his rocket barrage. He can still just go to town on Pain, no problem whatsoever for Leposa. Not to mention the fact that he's also overchargeable by Vestius, so how the hell do you kill off the Gyrocopter? Beats me. Lullaby and Jubilee are going to be spotted by a Spiderling, but still the pressure is going to start to mount, and Broodmother's got to start split pushing right now. I don't think farming the jungle for Broodmother is quite going to cut it any longer. It's just not getting her enough. Like, it's gotten her Vlad's and 2,600 gold. 2,600 gold is a pretty decent amount, but it's not a completed Orchid, and that's the type of caliber that the Broodmother needs to pick up right now, or a Desolator or something like that, if she wants to stay a relevant threat, at least to the towers of Keystars, because they're getting a hell of a lot across the map, not just Leposa, but also the Razor and the Axe. Seems like Razor, I was going to say Aghanim Scepter is his next item, but no, it's going to be a plate mail item, most likely AC, with the intent of going for the final structures of Pain.
Yeah, Pain playing very scared right now. Their entire lineup is pretty much shadowing the Anti-Mage at this point, ensuring that he's going to find some farm across the map, keeping him empowered up. Meanwhile, the Radiant were doing, just a moment ago, a little bit of better job of splitting through. The Courier, not scouted here by Jubilee. You can call that up, so quick kill on the Courier if he was able to find it. Would have been the full Manta of the Anti-Mage, but we'll be able to deliver that out, it seems, and both teams going to put some pressure towards the off-lane tier 2s. It seems that the Dire side going to play a little bit more safe in doing so, as is indicative of the state of the game.
I believe you could also use Culling Blade on Couriers, so Axe has quite the kid to kill him off. He's going to miss the call, though, because the snowball's coming in. However, they're going for a Gyrocopter who's already laid down the call-down missiles. Shards are going to catch, plus a nice Curse RP onto 3, but there's no damage follow-up. Aside from a Shockwave, Splinter Blast, Jubilee may fall here, but yeah, he finally will. Can they kill off Leposa? He's dodging quite a bit right now, just going to turn around and fight it out. However, up against the 1v5 scenario, Leposa should finally fall, and Pain get 3 kills. That was a pretty bold call there from Axe. Unfortunately, just like didn't work out for timing reasons or whatever, but they make that play. They voluntarily take a fight right outside the enemy tier 3 with only 3 heroes. That's some ballsy play coming out from Keystars.
Yeah, Jubilee not surviving long enough there means quite a few heroes survive in call range. And yeah, that's what I meant. Call the courier, not call it noob. But regardless,
Can you call
yeah,
a
it's.
courier?
I don't think so. I doubt
I
it.
don't think so either.
But yeah, it's a little bit ballsy for them far forward, and making or being a little bit more decisive was Pain there in finding that defense, and they finally do get the curse and the RP off, pretty nice ones at that, and that'll net them both a great team fight and the Aegis.
Anti-Mage is still on top of the net worth chart right now. Again, Anti-Mage is a single target carry, and Gyrocopter's a little bit more spread out. So if he gets on top of the Gyrocopter, unless he gets the unluckiest rolls of all time, should be able to eventually bring down the Gyro if they're neck and neck like they are. Like, there's only a 200 gold difference between the Anti-Mage and the Gyrocopter. Somehow that's a thing. I have no idea how that actually happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, still 18-6, and though it's looking bad for Pain, looking a little bit better after that last fight. They were looking at a 12k disadvantage in gold and experience, but now it's very quickly dropping back towards their favor. It's still in Keystar's favor, but Keystars are now tasked with the very difficult objective of going up high ground. And you would say go for Roshan first, but there is no Aegis to be claimed because Anti-Mage just grabbed it. So it kind of feels like Keystars have to just sit back and either look for the greatest series of picks of all time, or just farm up and wait for the next Roshan.
Yeah, I still feel like their 5-man is strong enough, but with this Aegis, it's certainly not something that you want to be fighting into. And the reason I just say that is because Tavo has kind of been this somewhat irrelevant, just presence on the bottom side of the map. He does now have pretty much enough for a Radiance, only 200 gold away. So we'll be able to push these lanes out pretty quickly and actually maybe contribute to the team fights thereafter. So the window that they had while this Broodmother was not ready to fight is surely closing pretty quick.
Top lane, Anti-Mage might get jumped by the Axe. If he does, you could bet there's going to be a relocate here, but it's only for a tier 2 and only for an Aegis. They'll let that one fall. Jubilee still keeping hidden. It looks like that should just about be it. Tavo, in the meantime, messing with Vestius quite a bit. I'm pretty surprised that there's still no gem here on the Radiant side. This Broodmother's been such a pain in the ass. Just grab a gem, relocate on her, blink forward, call her, do whatever. Just kill her off and open the door up for some sort of aggressive play. Not sure if that's actually going to be in the game plan for Keystars, because again, they're not in the business of going for aggressive plays right now, but still, while they're sitting back and kind of just farming up themselves, it's giving Anti-Mage a lot of very rapid recovery time. With the full, that's actually not even maxed out in power, but in power and Battle Fury, he's going to be bouncing around everywhere, clearing out all the stacks, and now he has a heart.
Yeah, I feel like it's a slow death for Keystars here. I mean, they've been spending a lot of time just kind of being around where the Broodmother is, not finding any kills on the Broodmother, not keeping their lanes pushing out, allowing the Anti-Mage to split push as he pleases. And with the Aegis in the hands of the Dire, KD playing very, very safe at this point. I feel like the Razor has done next to nothing overall in this one, but kind of just respond to defenses. And the Axe and the combo of the IO Gyro have always been forward, but a Razor, a hero who largely wants the team fights, has not been involved in most of these engagements.
He still has a lot of farm, but really the prime for Razor has since passed. He can still do a lot if he somehow is able to keep the tether connected to an Anti-Mage or a Broodmother or something along those lines, but for the most part, this Razor's effectiveness window has since closed down. It's over towards mid lane where Pain are going to start to apply their own pressure. They got the Anti-Mage with a double life, and that's a double life of 2400 HP and 20 armor. That's quite a bit. Lullaby is going to put the Anti-Mage to sleep. Just a small nap, enfeeble him for whatever that's worth. But the tower is going to fall regardless. Now Anti-Mage is going to bust up the high ground into Laposa, into Yuka right now. So he is going to have to fall back, but we can see how aggressive Pain are playing right now, how confident they are. They're just looking for an angle to blink skewer someone out. They may decide to fall back right now, but in the meantime, Broodmother is split pushing bottom lane with her Spiderlings.
Yeah, I feel like they just continue to split in all these lanes simultaneously and just force the Radiant into a poor position. They leave their Anti-Mage up on the high ground. He's going to jump forward with the call and try to initiate here, drag back the Anti-Mage in. He's going to Manta out of it though, and Live for Your Love just standing his ground up here, almost baiting out the Aegis. Gonna jump out, probably get cold embraced up, and reset and go right back in with this next wave. And slow, methodical, patient play here from Pain's side. They still have about 40 seconds on the Aegis, but they are cutting it close with this next jump up high ground.
Oh, they enfeebled him last time, so they couldn't grip him. That would have been the perfect time to use that grip, but they get the Nightmare and the Static Lane combo, forcing him out. Oh, Blink called a little bit too late. If they landed that call, the Razor's damage output with 200, 300 damage a pop would have definitely been enough to take out that Aegis. Probably not a double kill, like not Aegis and secondary life afterwards, but hey, it's something. It's going to force Pain on the defensive, and it seems like they will all just book it on out of there. No casualties for either side, but 18-6 and Pain really are in a pretty good position considering they are 12 kills behind. If you're able to knock on the front door of the enemy like that with confidence and get away with no casualties, you're in a pretty great spot.
Yeah, Radiant's completed on Tavo as well, so continuing to keep that bot wave shoved in. And yeah, maybe if they force that call actually lands, pretty unfortunate for the Radiant side, they at least force an engagement, if not bring that Aegis down. And while Razor is buffed up, are able to maybe pick off some of the backliners. They're going to try and force something here as the Radiant side, and I feel like this is the right call, sitting back passively in their base. I feel like the Anti-Mage just continues to widen the gap in terms of farm and get more powerful in this one. So they are going to try and find a pick for the Radiant side, leading with the Bane here. And interestingly enough, Live For Your Love has jumped towards the rune, and they now have vision of him with that ward on the high ground. They have a grip available as well if he walks towards this high ground, but perhaps worried about what lurks behind him. They could have found a pretty important pick here on the Anti-Mage, and the Radiant side get cold feet.
Yeah, it looks like there's only 3 heroes there, but you gotta remember that there's an IO in play, so bringing the Gyrocopter in with the luxurious time they have given the duration of Nightmare, 5 seconds, Fiend's Grip 5 seconds as well. Anti-Mage had a little bit of backup behind it, but not a significant amount. That could have been a big pickoff if Key Stars were just gonna man up and go for it.
Yeah.
But alas, not gonna be the case just yet. The Razor's item selection is going to be a Shiva's Guard. I feel like as Razor in this game, you kind of have to go for a little bit more of an offensive item. Like between the plate mail items of AC and Shivas, those are usually the 2 big ones, especially for Razor. Assault Cuirass does damage. Like it helps you have with attack speed. It gives you minus armor. Shiva's Guard is almost purely defensive.
Yeah, it's kind of odd to see no illusion-based heroes here. I mean, I guess you get the Spiderlings with it on top of your plasma field, but
Looks good.
that's true as well. Bot lane, Radiant's debuff was only posted there momentarily, and he does ping out the jungle. So is well aware that this Broodmother is somewhere nearby. Vestia's going to roll through, has a Glimmer Cape and a mech, so no kill potential there for Tavo. He's just going to TP out to safety as the Radiant shove out this lane, but still feels like their window is closing, and they're playing a little bit too passively for my liking on the Radiant side. Anti-Mage starting to become relevant. Tavo as well, 2,500 gold after picking up that Radiance.
Well, they have the gem, or at least they did buy a gem on the IO. Where did that actually end up? Is it actually on the map? I don't know where it went, but the IO definitely purchased a gem.
Wyvern has
lost
one.
it since then.
Yeah, Wyvern has one.
The IO literally just bought it. I have no idea what happened to it, but
Bane has one. Bane has one. It's best.
oh, there we go. Okay, I have no idea where it was, but now that Lullaby has it, they can look for the Broodmother. But Bane's not on this bottom lane, so I don't really know how much this gem is going to help them. The sentries have already been expent to clear out the observers from Pain, so yeah, the gem is nice and all for Lullaby, but it needs to be in the right place at the right time, and you really don't want to give Io the gem because he tends to be a little bit suicidal, but I don't know, I feel like this is just not the right hero to have this item. Yeah, 18-6 and Pain are just going to stake out Roshan. It's a super long respawn, but that actually seems like it's going to be favoring them. The Anti-Mage is still farming up an Absolute Storm, is, you know, maybe a little bit closer to being 6-slotted than Pain would really like since his cap is going to be coming up very shortly. But he's actually gone for an Assault Cuirass. We never really see this item on Anti-Mage because Butterfly is almost commonly regarded as the superior item, strictly superior for an Anti-Mage. Going for a little bit of extra armor gives him a little bit of protection up against the axe, and that's about it. I'm not really sure if this is the item choice, but they're going to pop the Crimson Guard, look for Yuka. Snowball's going to land, blink forward. The Anti-Mage wants the Bane. He's going to tear him to shreds before the Bane gets anything off. Calling out is on the deck. The Anti-Mage is going to pick a fight with Posa. Start to lose it because he's losing that damage output. ADR is going to jump right in. RP going to connect onto 2. Where's the follow-up? There is none. Curse is going to land, but again, where's the follow-up? They're finally getting onto Posa with big mana void. They'll kill out the Gyrocopter. Vestius and Razor both to fall shortly after. Pain only lose their Tusk. And the Radiant, though they all were there, they were ill prepared for that fight.
Yeah, I mean, we said it at about the 8-minute mark. Pain is no stranger. Cold Embrace on the creep report on the Spiderling, but Pain is no stranger to playing from behind, and they've done so almost flawlessly here. I feel like most of this is the onus though is on the Radiant here. they kind of got away from their playstyle of roaming the Bane, roaming the Axe, and finding the relocate opportunities, and have been playing very reactionary ever since there. Live for Your Love gonna jump forward very aggressively and will create enough space to at least get that tier 3 down, and looks like, at least for now, the dire side gonna look to reset, knowing Roshan spawns soon. They don't want to take a poor fight here and give up that objective.
Alright, so after that fight, we're going to see the grand tally of that soon reflected in the items. Tavo is going to go ahead and grab an SNY. Maybe a little bit late for this item for my liking. Like, it's a good item on Broodmother, I'm not going to deny that, but I mean, come on, it's 40 minutes in the game. Buy something a little bit more expensive. Winter Wyvern has 2k, ADR has 3k. Looks like he's going to hold on to that, and well, so does the Anti-Mage. 3k on him. Gambling, the only casualty of that last fight, is actually going to go for Pipe, it looks like. I don't think it's going to be a casual hood. Pipe kind of has isolated value in this game, but it should be okay, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really sure if that's the correct item choice. But Pain has a lot of net worth.
Late. Seems like it's a little late for that pickup. Smoke through the bottom lane.
And Plasma Field and Shiva's Guard.
Tavo is going to pop the smoke. Does get hit by the Dust Plasma Field. Not going to be quite in range to give them vision. And now Jubilee going to try for the blind call. Won't be able to land it. Tavo going to be able to safely TP out. And once again, garnering the attention of that Radiant lineup. And pretty much wasting their time. I mean, Yuka gets some Spiderlings for his trouble, but not nearly what the Radiant wanted with that smoke.
Well,
they will
they
scout Roshan.
Maybe force Pain into a defense position to, perhaps delay a Roshan, but the Spiderling is going to catch eyes on it. The Radiant should know that the Roshan is up as well, and as far as fighting in the Rosh pit, both sides do have quite substantial assets. Like Gyrocopter's a beast in the area, as is Axe and Razor. They do pretty well, but then again, Broodmother, Magnus, we've already seen the RPs consistently land on like 2 heroes minimum every single time. And you got the Winter's Curse as well, so fighting over Roshan is going to be a little bit difficult. I'd love to see this Anti-Mage just not grab Moon Shards, grab Travels, so you could push top and be in the fights if one should break out in the Roshan pit.
I still feel like Pain has the upper hand in close quarters. RP and Winter's Curse available to him, defensive Snowball, and they've also got the Crimson Guard, which I think you touched upon, onto Gambling, which is pretty damn good up against the Flak Cannon. So they're just going to jump in, Live for Your Love, by his lonesome alongside Tavo, who has, of course, the terrain walking on the Broodmother. And they'll get an uncontested Rosh here, and this should spell probably the GG push coming out from Pain. Maybe just to look to force all lanes in, which they are already doing at this point.
Yeah, Anti-Mage is hitting like an absolute truck right now. Has that maxed out in power finally up. Doesn't really have a ton of really offensive items. Usually this AC is going to be a Butterfly AC, a little bit more defensively oriented than the Butterfly. But yeah, Anti-Mage is still absolutely dishing right now. He has the Aegis to replace down the line. He got rid of his Vlads for the Aegis, so even more damage down the tubes for the Anti-Mage. But still, he's doing just fine for himself. The attempt here for Pain is going to be, we're just going to end the game with this push. I'm not sure if they can actually get it done. Again, the high ground push is you're walking into a Razor, you're walking into the threat of Blink Call. The Gyrocopter also has quite a lot of AoE. This is going to be a tough fight for Pain. If they had an Abyssal on Anti-Mage, a lot easier, but he's
I think you just throw the Illusions up high ground. They're going to throw the Anti-Mage with the Illusions up. With that AC Aura, they are going to jump forward with the call, but the Nightmare is going to overlap at the same time, and now that's going to give Live for Your Love some easy right clicks onto this tower. Of course, it's going to regen, being the melee racks, but at this point, it is pretty much free chip damage. Liposa in the front line is going to feel pretty safe. Bestia's top lane has used his relocate, so he's going to need to TP back fairly soon. The Wisp will TP back now, and they're going to Nightmare up and perhaps Grip here, but they do have the Aegis. Manta out of the Nightmare, and Feeble going to be popped onto Live for Your Love, and they'll Brain Sap him up. He'll jump back, though, taking down the melee racks and losing nothing for it. Pain are more than willing. Jump out, reset, and maybe even back out for the time being.
I don't even need to be using Embrace on this Anti-Mage. He has the hardest harass. He's just going to blink right in again. Will lose a little bit of his damage, but not at a fast enough rate. With the Nightmare there, he's going to lose a hell of a lot of damage. Going to the red, and now he's going to hit with the missile. They need a call to follow up. They need something, but no, Axe is going to wait a little bit long. He's going to miss the call because of the Manta dodge. They're not going to get the Anti-Mage. He's going to get glimmered out, and he might be fine. The Winter Wyvern, in the meantime, dies to the Razor or something. I actually don't know what happened to that guy, but hey, they get something. But they lose their Raxes. The melee one in range is at 26 HP. You blow on it and it won't fall down. That is a successful push for Pain. They still have the Aegis, so they can go in for round 2 shortly.
Yeah, and the Spiderlings will bring down that range axe at any given moment, really. So they're not worried too much about leaving that bit. And the meat shields in the lane are in their favor, so they will continue to keep this pushed out. Yuka bot lane poking his head out, and Tavo not willing to jump forward as they only see the gyrocopter currently on map towards that mid lane. The Dire Observer Ward, though, will scout out Jubilee. And Tavo is nearby.
Oh, Tavo playing some games with Yuka, though he is keeping his radiance off. Some people forget that that's a thing that you can do, but if you're looking to play sneaky, especially as a broodmother, this is what you gotta do. Toggle it on, toggle it off. Remember to turn it on for the fights, guys. Evasion is really good. Or I guess like a mischance, pseudo-evasion, what have you. Jubilee and Live for Your Love, they're going to run into each other. Axe is not quite as mobile as an anti-mage. So he has Blade Mail, he's going to return quite a bit of damage, and anti-mage without a basher still can't necessarily keep up to that Axe. It's not a big deal. With one Rax in their favor, Tavo split pushing is going to be that much more annoying. I would like to see this Broodmother actually get, some sort of pick-off item so that she could punish these heroes. If she had a basher right now or an MKB, just being able to cancel that Razor's TP would be huge.
Mm-hmm. Have to get a little lucky, I suppose. Not having as much attack speed as Tavo perhaps would like to at this point. But yeah, still kind of garnering attention in this bottom lane. There seems to always be at least one hero around near the Broodmother. And as soon as she's able to bring down this range Rax, we'll be able to turn her attention perhaps towards that mid or top lane. Jump forward from Jubilee. He is going to find the Wyvern with a Battle Hunger. But Glimmercape going to keep Cap safe for now. And would have been a gem, so actually wouldn't have been a completely useless pickoff for the Radiant side. But still, for the last about 10 to 12 minutes, KD playing very scared on the Radiant side, pretty much choked into their own side of the map.
Now, this is going to run its course eventually. As powerful as the anti-mage is, he's not going to get any more powerful. Oh my god, that's a lot of gold for the gyrocopter. Cleans up a giant Spiderling army. He's going to cash in himself. He's not quite at anti-mage levels of farm just yet, as anti-mage has the Aegis to replace, most likely with an Abyssal, but then he's just done. Maybe in this game you get rid of Battle Fury. I mean, you probably do since you have an Empower on your side, but Live for Your Love is pretty much as big as he's going to get. Never mind, he's going to get a little bit bigger with the double damage rune, but yeah, there's not really much item progression left for this anti-mage. So for Pain, if they stall out with a 6-slot anti-mage, if they're unable to break the base again of the Keystar's side, suddenly they're going to lose a lot of this momentum.
Yeah, 4,700 gold on the anti-mage. Aegis expiring, that could be a full basher. He's going to actually go for the Demon Edge first and foremost. So, see if this is an MKB, which is probably the most likely choice with that butterfly already up for the gyrocopter. And they are going to smoke up towards this middle lane, keep their Broodmother shoving in the bot lane. And we'll have this smoke popped here, so Gambling should get the snowball off onto Liposa. This is a dead gyrocopter unless a relocate comes in, but they get the Winter's Curse off. Relocate will be there in time. They are going to return now. We'll see if the Radiant group up looking to fight this. Sigil is not giving the dire vision of Jubilee U just yet. We'll see if anyone shows him. He is there to counter initiate, jump forward. Not going to be there. Call down is popped. Being very patient on this axe. Jump forward. Call into 2. Call down will be there as well. The grip onto Live for Your Love, but the skewer back RP onto 2. No follow-up for that grip. They get a sleep off onto the anti-mage, sapping most of his damage. And now he's hitting like a wet noodle. Is this anti-mage? Jubilee U still alive. Big mana void though. Does damage onto 3. Kills off the axe, but the anti-mage dies out and they only end up losing the axe for it. Broodmother not there to contribute at all. Does bring down that ranged Rax and actually brings out the melee Rax in the mid as well. So some serious split push attained there, and the buyback from the anti-mage perhaps a little bit curious in that one.
That was a little bit of an over-ambitious buyback there from the AM, but hey, you know what? They kill off the anti-mage. The Axe's patience definitely paid off, though he did end up dying, so not able to reap all of the rewards from it. It was super patient in that, and yeah, there was an RP there from ADR. He actually scared them away from the anti-mage if he was going to land the RP. Near the anti-mage, that could have just been entirely the Keystar size cleaned up, but now he has that Refresher Orb. Magnus has been kind of stagnant with his item progression, but Refresher Orb is a big one. Just being able to lock down those heroes for double duration. Like, that's all you really need. That's 6-7 seconds of stun duration for an anti-mage with still the Battle Fury just to go wild on them. And he almost has his MKB, but he's not going to save any gold for buyback because he can't buy back anymore. If you're caught in that RP, you're just dead. Like, I don't care who you are.
Yeah. Anti-mage definitely hitting very hard there. They got a pretty big link off, so more or less an ideal scenario for the Radiant side in that last fight, and they do have 5k gold now on their gyrocopter. Let's see what his next item is to be. Can replace that S and Y eventually as well. So Gyro still has quite a ceiling to reach, but melee racks now down in the mid lane, pretty significant advantage in terms of structural damage, although it is 48 minutes in, and with the Wisp, Gyro, and the Razor and the Axe, they deal with mega creeps fairly well on the Radiant side.
Well, the Pain, they're going to group down towards bottom and look for someone. They're not quite going to find what they're looking for, but hey, that's fine. They're just going to back off and then look to probably just play the pick-off game until Roshan comes up, in which case the Anti-Mage can do it pretty much by himself. There has been no... or there is a replacement Vlad on the Broodmother. She's actually had that one for quite a long time. So, yeah, going for the Roshan with Anti-Mage solo, definitely very easy. I don't know if he sells any of his items for that Aegis. That might be a little bit of a harder decision for him. But either way, for Pain, they are looking at double lives eventually. And for the Radiant, I don't really think they could push out the map fast enough and actually stay in the Roshan pit and contest that, being 1.5 sets of racks is down.
Top lane, Live For Your Love, briefly scouting the gyrocopter. He's going to blink forward, looking for it. And Vestius is well within position to save him with the relocate if need be, but just going to back him off for now, perhaps trying to find a little bit of intel as to what is behind the gyrocopter based on his reaction. And they do now see Jubilee pushing out that mid lane.
Well, that's not something that Pain can actually capitalize on just yet. Tabo's pushing down towards bottom. Broodmother's in 3rd place in the net worth, but Anti-Mage and gyrocopter farming so fast. Seems like they're in just a league of their own. Everyone else kind of stumbling on their 3rd and 4th items as they're 6th slot and looking for extra items to replace. It's something we definitely don't see all the time. Gyrocopter going to buy an Assault Cuirass of his own. Him and Anti-Mage can go toe-to-toe pretty decently. And the Anti-Mage has a heart and advantage, but this is Satanic on the Gyrocopter, which should provide him more health in the long run than the heart.
He's got the 20% damage reduction as well.
Game.
Yeah, he's got that overcharge damage reduction as well. So I think it's kind of a little bit more towards the supporting cast for at least the Radiant side. If the Bane can get off an influential grip or a big call comes out from the Axe, maybe even a static link as we saw in the last engagement, then that certainly bodes well from them. And perhaps that's one of the weaknesses of Pain's draft, is that at this point in the game, certainly kind of the only right clicker anyone is truly worried about is that Anti-Mage. I mean, Broodmother could perhaps attain that status 10 minutes from now, but right now isn't very scary.
Someone picked up a Heavy Halberd before.
The Razor, yeah.
The Razor. Yeah, that's also going to be another big item. As far as like supplementing these carries, you got the Overcharge that you mentioned before, but Overcharge versus Empower, I don't know, is like the one exactly better than the other. I don't really think it's super clear. Then you add like minor amounts of evasion. If the Broodmother somehow hits the Gyrocopter once, applies that in-cap bite, actually, never mind, MKB, that's not even going to be relevant, so that's about all there is. But both sides with the right supplemental heroes to help these carries, if either of these two heroes gets jumped on, and if they aren't bailed out by their Snowball and RP or a relocate from the IO for the Gyrocopter, then that can very easily be, at the very least, buybacks. Anti-Mage still doesn't have his, so if he's the one to get popped, then that can just be game. Pain cannot hold without their Anti-Mage. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, agreed. And at this point, still 2 minutes on that buyback. Does have just enough to afford it at this point. But yeah, it doesn't look like KD are kind of willing to jump forward just because they have secured an extra life with the Anti-Mage having that Aegis available. So still up for quite a while is that Aegis.
They're smoked. And they have a relocate at the ready. They're pushing up top lane, but Anti-Mage is going to gun for the towers. They're going to catch Cat at a good angle. Blink Call is there, plus a relocate. Courier might even get picked off, but that's certainly dead. Winter Wyvern. With the Spirits there, they will see ADR cancel his Blink Dagger, but the buildings are falling. They're going to try to go for Bane, but it gets a full grip now onto the Anti-Mage, just keeping him out of this fight. Laposa can't get in, though, because of the Snowball. He's going to be forced to go against Gambling 1v1. He'll kill off the Tusk, no problem whatsoever, but they really wanted the Anti-Mage. That's 2 heroes down in favor of Keith Stars. And ultimately, they lose not much. A little bit of health in the range racks, but that's not really super important right now.
Cheeky play coming out.
Push out these lanes and then try to go for an aggressive play of their own.
I mean, it's cheeky play coming out from the Radiant, but the respawn timers aren't nearly long enough for them to really make anything of it. They don't have enough boots of travel to jump towards that mid lane. They still have an Aegis on the Anti-Mage, so, and a cheese on the Broodmother for that matter. So you didn't get the targets you really wanted. Maybe a little bit more patience from Axe would have helped out there in grabbing a different target. But I mean, they take the first pick and are hoping that a full scale engagement follows, but unfortunately that's not the case, and just gonna delay it for now. 4k up on the anti-mage, and it does have that moon shard as well, buff up.
Trying to think of like random items that these non-core heroes can buy to really tip the tables in their favor. Sheepstick is the only one that really comes to mind here, but at the same time, are there any heroes that can actually afford Sheepstick in this game? Like, Magnus is not getting that much income. Broodmother's gone for an MKB. I feel like she would probably be the prime candidate. Aside from that, Solar Crest was actually
it actually might be a blade mail, interestingly enough, for the Tusk. I figured that chainmail would be into a medallion and then eventually a Solar Crest, but he does have a robe with the Magi, so odd up against the BKB of the... Actually, Gyro does not have a BKB in this game, so maybe the blade mail could do some work here. I feel like the Solar Crest may be a bit more effective, but regardless.
Yeah, you would like to say it's 53 minutes in the game, get both, but these heroes are not getting that much income. I think Antimage should actually stop farming now. Like, by split pushing, yeah, he's keeping the waves pushed in towards the Radiant, but he's taking away gold, and the smoke up is going to actually wrap around the poster right now. Luckily for him, he does have buyback. He's going to not take the bullet, though. It's actually going to be snowball towards Vestius. Swallower's Punch is there, and with the Antimage teleporting in, that's going to be a dead IO. The Gyrocopter is going to fly away, has no TP because he still doesn't have travels. And he will get back to the base safely, but that could have been a lot worse. If Gyrocopter's forced to buy back, then Pain have a chance to win the game.
Does he sell his phase boots here? He does. Okay. So it looks like he's going to have to be forced to buy at least boots of speed for now. Keep that buyback available. Barely so. And we'll upgrade those into travels.
He gets called in buyback on the IO. They put him to sleep. No damage drain is active just yet, although it's definitely going to start. Anti-Mage now getting back to that wet noodle status. Supposed to going to teleport right to the front lines. For that Black Cannon. He's going to do a little bit of damage to everyone, but not enough damage to anyone. Again, the mid lane is now completely devoid of buildings. Bottom lane, same thing, but they force out the buyback on the IO for Pain. They invest pretty much nothing to do it, so it's a clean victory for them, but they need to take down these buildings, and for Key Stars, they need to actually go on the offensive. How are they supposed to win from this situation? Laposa going to lay into this Anti-Mage, who's now going to once again start to lose his damage. Big RP onto 3. Snowball is coming in as well. The Skewer is going to catch onto 4. Secondary RP onto those same 4. Mana Void is there. Axe is going to fall, and the Bane will as well. Now Laposa can pop the Satanic, but it may just be too late as Yuka's going to drop to a Splinter Blast. Laposa is still swinging, still training him with the Gyrocopter. Another call in from Jubilu. Back from the dead is going to dunk down the Aegis of the Anti-Mage. That's step 1. They need to kill him again, however, they have no more CC available. Anti-Mage now is going to go straight for Laposa. No more mana. Therefore, no more hope to actually trade hits with the Anti-Mage evenly, although with the backup here, Anti-Mage is still having a little bit of trouble. Magnus thinking about poking in, but he doesn't have any spells available, and Laposa's trading right clicks will lose the trade. Is forced now to buy back everyone else from Pain. Healthy enough to make their retreat. Yuka, though, gonna do what he can. What he can do is not that much. Huge plays from ADR, but even with that, they have yet to really break the base into a victory. It's still not over yet. Broodmother split pushing down towards bottom lane. Yuka get into a fight with an Anti-Mage. Bet he'd kill for a Basher right about now. He's going to go now for the buildings. Laposa's going to arrive. They're going to start draining his damage. They're going to disarm him. He's going to think about blinking away. Finally does do so. And Laposa's right on his ass. Skewer is going to keep the Anti-Mage safe, although ADR may have given his life for it. No, with the Force Staff out, he'll be just fine. In the meantime, Broodmother still just doing Broodmother things. He's going to be split pushing the tier 4s now. And that looks like it's going to be Pain's almost decisive victory. They're not done yet, actually. Heart of Tarrasque, enabling Anti-Mage to get right back in here. Going to clean up melee. Going to clean up the range. Now Megas are going to start flood. No, they get the grip off onto the Anti-Mage. No follow-up, however. No damage taken at all from this AM's grip duration. He's going to force that out. He's going to get blinked out. Tavo going to finish the deal here, though he's going to get put to sleep by Lullaby. This is going to be the Raxus to fall by the Catapult. They may lose their Broodmother here. They may lose everyone here. But for Pain, they have buybacks if the worst should happen. Mega's going to flood the base. I think Pain have done it.
Yeah, that engagement would have went much better for them top lane if it wasn't for that Satanic from the Gyrocopter. Somehow he stood his ground for what seemed like aeons in that fight. Bot lane, they are going to find out Live for Your Love. And Defensive Nightmare is there from the Bane. No grip available, though. And Live for Your Love playing fairly confidently. Tier 4 is down, though, now, as you mentioned. And buyback status is pretty much everyone except for the Tusk for the Dire side. So they can suicide at this Ancient pretty much at their own leisure. And it seems like certainly they've finally been able to overwhelm them. We mentioned it earlier how they are going to need kind of the supporting cast to help them out there. And you saw it with that Winter's Curse covering it, the grip not doing any not having any follow-up damage onto that anti-mage there, and they are able to finally take down all the structures.
And Anti-Mage has 7,000 gold, just in case. I don't think there's going to be any situation where that is necessary, but he's going to teleport up towards top. Ghost is not going to let that happen. Is this the all-in push from the Gyrocopter? I don't really know if this is going to happen, because now there's an Abyssal on the Anti-Mage. He did ship out that Battle Fury and doesn't have an Aegis or Cheese or anything like that in his inventory any longer. He's just going to go straight in for the IO. If you get hit with the Abyssal, you're just dead here. Oh, they're trying to juke him around. Oh, they'll relocate out. But yeah, I guess that's a successful defense from Pain. The IO is going to come back. I'm pretty sure there's an Abyssal waiting for him. Live for Your Love's just spamming that button right now, and the IO is not going to have anything to tether to. He's going to try to Glimmer out. That's not going to happen. He's going to get torn to shreds, and he has no buyback. In the meantime, like, everyone is dying in the Radiant base because they're not really well equipped to deal with these Megas. It's a slow death here for Keystars. They had at one point such a lead in this game, 12k.
Yeah.
That was all the way back before the 30-minute mark, but they lost that.
The score was 18-3 at 20 minutes in for this Radiant side, and I mean, I said it halfway through the game. I feel like they just kind of got away from what was working for them. They roamed the Bane and the Axe. They jumped in with the relocate pretty much every time, and kind of got away from that. Started playing really passively, playing reactionary. And I mean, with that style, you draft a Razor as your 5th pick, and he more or less wasn't able to contribute to anything just because he's not the most mobile hero. And by the time that they got into these 5, they kind of passed the window of Razor's greatest effectiveness.
Yeah, at this point, as a Razor player, you kind of want to have similar items to the enemy Anti-Mage. Like, those types of items are items that you want to have in your inventory. As good as Halberd is, Shiva's Guard, SNY, they're fine, but you know, you're supposed to have, well, not double boots. You need to have 5-6 slots of really high-tier items. They're going to blink in right towards Leposa. He gets Force Staff, gets Glimmered, and Lotus Orb, so he's going to be fine for a little while longer. But again, Pain are not interested to actually fight here. They're just going to stall because they are in absolutely no rush. They'll fall back because they can. I feel like this Razor is really just the weak link here from Keystars. I don't know if it's like the play style of Yuka or the pick in and of itself, but they needed another hero to step up and be that secondary damage output.
Definitely didn't synergize with what they were trying to do around that 15-minute mark. And yeah, this late in the game, Razor relies on a lot from his supporting cast in order to be able to do damage and find an influential static link. But we're going to see Pain play it safe here and find a second life over in the Roshan pit alongside a Cheese as well before they go high ground. So effectively they have 11 lives plus a Cheese at this point. Actually, only 2 buybacks available to them. The Wyvern had hers, but just bought another Perseverance. So 2 buybacks and an Aegis and Cheese. So effectively 8 plus a Cheese lives for this high ground push.
I have never actually seen Winter Wyvern with Refresher Orb.
Yeah.
But I can only assume it's as disgusting as Magnus with Refresher Orb. Like, if you just blink in RP, and if ADR is going to blink in RP, you could bet he's going to catch at least 2. Curse them up, and then just keep them locked down forever. If you do it perfectly, what is that? That's like 17 seconds of sheer AoE disable.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. So, yeah. Roughly about that amount. Jump for the call is going to whiff completely. They're going to jump with the Abyssal Blade onto Yuka. They get the Winter's Curse off onto 2. Skewer into a 4-man RP. Second Winter's Curse is there. Second RP queued up. Going to be popped off, and the full lineup of KD down. No buybacks. GG. Well played. Pain, after being pretty much stomped in the early game, going to take a very impressive victory in this one and prove why they're favorites to take the whole thing.
Now, I gotta say, they had Megas flooding the base, right? Pain had a decisive lead. Like, there is single-digit % chance of Keystars coming back from that last couple of minutes. But that fight at the end was freaking awesome, man. You get the pretty much perfect chain stun. The Anti-Mage is cleaving through everyone. That's exactly what I would expect from a Winter Wyvern with the Refresher Orb, and Magnus with the Refresher Orb as well. That was just awesome. Like, it didn't matter that happened because they already won the game, but it made me happy inside.
Yeah, definitely really nice to watch. And we touch upon kind of the odd the odd fits in the Magnus and the Razor being the 5th picks overall, but definitely seems like the Magnus a lot more effective and a lot more influential over the game. And overall, just great space creation for this anti-mage, and really live for your love, well positioned across the map more often than not, able to slip behind enemy lines. And Tavo creating so much havoc in the bot lane, creating so many, or forcing so many rotations, garnering so much attention, and eventually they're able to take it. So really well played from Pain overall.
All right, so the path is not over right now for Keystars. They're going to drop down to the lower bracket where they'll be playing tomorrow. Azurus T-Show, guys, sorry to say, is not going to be played right now. That's also going to be pushed back to tomorrow. So tomorrow, lots of things are going to be happening. And, well, I don't know how well that's going to flow. But either way, it's going to be Pain sitting comfortably in the winner bracket finals, waiting their opponent once more between Azurus or T-Show. We're done here for today, guys. We hope you've enjoyed these games. Hope you've, well, tolerated the delays. We're going to be back here tomorrow at around the same time. It's actually 16:30 CEST. I think that's like 11 local time, if that's your thing. 11 a.m. local time. So, yeah, we'll be back for then. I'm mikelorus. I've been joined by MRP Dota. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at mikelorus, at MRP_Dota, at HeflaTV as well. And we'll see all you guys tomorrow. Take care.
GG, guys.